Well, what is up, everybody? It is time to breathe again on the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. And we're back together as a group. What's going on, Patrick?
Chilling, like always, man.
That's what's up, man. So again, time to breathe again. We're very, very, very glad to be back together on the show, doing the live webcast, catching us back on our regularly scheduled time. So it's good to be back with everybody out here, and we have some fresh topics to talk about. So, Patrick, let's jump right into this. Let's start with Major League Baseball and what is going on with these coronavirus outbreaks with the Miami Marlins. It this could be the beginning of the end here for Major League Baseball, depending on how they want to handle this. Now, you know how we feel. We feel like, hey, it wasn't really a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Some of these cases were going to start to come down. Maybe not the way it came down with the Miami Marlins, having, I guess, somewhere between 14 and 17 players who caught this, but it's affected the Philadelphia Phillies as well. Both of these teams have been pretty much shut down because of this. So how's this going to look going forward, man? Because now you have to make adjustments to schedules.
Well, are you asking me? Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. Look, hey, I know we're a little bit out of practice.
We'll work into it. It'll buff out.
Yeah.
It's like this, man. We've done many shows, and we've talked about how we should just chalk this year up as a loss. The whole year, don't do baseball, don't do football, don't do basketball, don't do hockey, don't do anything. But here we are. They had to push for a season. Don't get me wrong. It's been nice to watch a little bit of baseball here and there. But honestly, I haven't really been able to sit down and watch an entire game. I've watched a few games where teams get blown out. So right now, there's really not many games that are like 2-1. Most of them are like 14-2 and 15-4. So, I mean, right now, I think teams are not even settled in. I think there's a lot more on their mind than just playing baseball. But anyway, here we are, and this is what I think. It looks like they shut down the Miami Marlins until the end of the week, right? Sunday, I think. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be in the week. I think it's going to be until further notice. And the reason why I say that is you got 17 people that come down with it, and you're supposed to quarantine for 14 days, and here we are only going 6. I mean, this is my thing, man. If you're gonna do it, go all out, play. But if you're not, and your heart's not into it, man, don't. And I don't think anybody's hearts was into this season. Everybody's worried about other things, and that's the reason why I said chalk it up. But I think the teams are probably going to slowly drop out, and as the teams drop out, I think the season will kind of melt away, unfortunately. And honestly, it's probably a good thing that it does. I think people need to just go home and chill out and not do anything.
Yeah, just figure this out. Basically, how you're going to go forward and deal with this virus. A couple of things here, Patrick. Number one, let's say the Marlins and Phillies, for that matter, let's say they tried to go on and play. Like you said, there's like 14, 17 people who caught this for the Marlins. The minor league systems are jacked up as well. So it's not like they can go and they can pull players out of there to keep games rolling. Yeah, that's how you could do it.
Well, even at that point, even if we did pull out, I mean, you have to think that even the regular rules still apply. You still can only have a 40-man roster, and the Miami Marlins have 17 people that are sick. Even if at 17 they can only put 10 more in there because the first 2 weeks, we're still, going through the first 2 weeks. They have a 30-man roster in dugout. So even with a 30-man roster in dugout, in the minors, they still only have 10 players that they can pull up. So at that point, you really don't even have enough players to even play.
Yeah.
And chances are you're only going to have 1 or 2 that are pitchers. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, this is I don't know what Major League Baseball is thinking. I know I had heard the commissioner Rob Manfred's comments, and he doesn't seem too concerned about this. I don't know why you don't seem too concerned about this, and it definitely looks like you're being Rob Manfred and being stupid and putting your foot in your mouth when you say it doesn't look like it's that big of a concern, and then you're shutting down franchises the next day. Yeah. So, this is a situation where, number one, if the rest of the leagues are watching this, and particularly the NFL, and I'll get to the NFL in a little bit, but if you're the rest of the leagues, this is something obviously you have to monitor. The NBA and NHL, they're supposed to be in a bubble, and we'll talk about them here in a little bit as well, but they got the bubble thing going. That could or could not work. We'll see. But with the NFL in particular, they don't have a bubble in place right now. They're saying, as it stands, they're going to try to run this season like normal, even though it's not normal because you canceled the whole preseason already. So you're
good for them, though, honestly.
Yeah. Right. And so
I'm watching paint dry.
So if you're canceling the NFL, or not the NFL, but if you're canceling the preseason, you're already making those precautions, saying you're basically pushing off as far as you can until the season is supposed to start. You're trying to buy yourself some time to figure out how you're going to deal with this. Now, I had seen something, I think it was on NFL Network, saying the fans, because again, it seems like from all indications, they're trying to do this like normal. So the fans are all going to have to wear some masks, which I think is the right thing to do if you're trying to prevent the spread of this. This is going to be tough to do just because if you're going to have concessions, if you're going to have some of these other things that go on normally, you have to take the mask off, you have to eat, you have to drink. And so there's going to be so much stuff going on in between when you are at the game. You're going to have people, they're going to take the mask off because it's going to be hot. And it's going to be a lot of stuff that's going on with this. So for me, and I mean, we're going to talk about the college football. That's another one. We're going to talk about that later on too. But Patrick, I'm with you. Cancel. Yeah, I don't think they shouldn't have started, because if you do start, which MLB has done, the NBA, NHL, they have a few days left. Looks like they're going to start in their bubble. NFL looks like they got about a little more than a month left. If you're going to start, you're pretty much at the point of no return at that point. And if you do decide that you're going to stop, what was the point of starting? Yeah, I mean, is where I'm going with this, because I feel like if you were going to start, all the different precautions would have been taken. But I don't know. It's icky. It's an icky situation.
Honestly, and this is my whole thing about it right. This is my whole thing about it right here. Many people know how I feel about the coronavirus. I feel that, my personal opinion, I feel masks should be optional. I just do. With a 99.6% chance of survival rate, I mean, come on. I just don't feel like it is as detrimental to our livelihood as the media has made it out to be. But I do respect if people want to wear a mask. I don't have a problem with it. This is what I have a problem with. People wearing a mask like this. are like this. Or they get a mask that's too big and you can literally stick your finger all the way through the hole so that they can breathe. Or the people that pull them up above their chin and hold it up like this, and then there's a big gap like this. Dude, I've seen so many things. I'm like, look,
if you're defeating the purpose of the mask.
You're defeating the purpose. You're acting the role, and at that point, to me, you're just a sheep. You're just a sheep. That's it. But back on the sports part of it, it's like this. If you're going to start it, be prepared that this could have happened. My personal opinion, if you're going to prepare that this was going to happen, then instead of shutting down a team, you should have had a 60-man roster ready to go.
You gotta have contingency plans.
You have to have that contingency plan, and they didn't. And, don't get me wrong, they did a lot of homework, but the homework that they did do that never really played out was what happened in Philadelphia and what happened in Miami. 17 people in Miami, and I think there was like 9 in Philadelphia. At this point, you have to shut a team down because they don't have enough players. What was the point? Make sure they have enough players to play the season. And yeah, you're probably going to have to sign contracts to 60 people. But at that point, you can still have a season. So to me, like I said, I'm happy that baseball was played. I mean, it's a nice jump into getting your feet wet with sports again. But baseball, that's all it's going to be. It's just we're testing the waters. We're seeing how it's going to be. And at this point, it wouldn't surprise me any if the season gets shut down probably in about 3 or 4 weeks.
And you know what, Patrick? So you mentioned testing the waters. If you're running a season, it's no time to test the waters. It just isn't. No, you could have did that in spring training. You could add an extended spring training to do that. I mean, it's not like we're messing up any schedules here. I mean, schedules had already been out the window a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So if you knew you were going to come back, then you could have used spring training or whatever scrimmage to test these things out for however long, maybe a month, even 2 months, whatever. You could have used that time to make sure things were good. You said with the 60-man roster, that could have happened, but your minor league system's jacked up because you decided as Major League Baseball, you wanted to can a lot of the minor leagues. So I feel like the planning, it was rushed because they wanted to get a season going. And this is all the leagues, not just MLB, but it feels like they wanted to try to get some games in there. And they wanted to get in on the money train, not trying to lose a whole lot of money. They've already lost a lot of money. So now when money becomes part of the equation, as you know, things start to get rushed. Things don't get looked at as detailed as maybe they should have. And you get this.
Yeah. Well, and not only money. You also have to look at it from a different perspective. People are getting used to not having sports.
Right.
And when you get used to not having sports, not only are you losing money because your games are not being played, you're also thinking about losing money for the future because you're losing a fan base. That's the reason why NFL is, I mean, my personal opinion, it's the reason why NFL is like, no, we've got to do this way, or in the future, we may lose a fan base. And, you're already looking at millennials as fair weather fans. They could have it or not. I mean, we sit and watch the Los Angeles Lakers, the fan base there. They only go to games just to have something to do. They're walking in, leaving at halftime, especially if their team's losing. Miami, same way. Philadelphia, same way. Atlanta, same way. And you're watching these people come in, spending the money that they want to spend, but they're leaving at halftime. It doesn't matter. You still got paid. But now you're starting to look at people not even caring about these games. I mean, Normally, Charles, on a regular sports, regular baseball, I know everything that's going on in baseball. I've only watched like 2 games, 3 games, possibly. I've just been so busy, with work and trying to get everything else done. But man, normally I make time for baseball. Baseball, my thing.
Well, I think it goes hand in hand, Patrick. The money and the viewership that goes with those TV deals.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not getting those viewers, then that money is gone. I think that part goes hand in hand, man. It's a powerful deal. Yeah, and the people are seeing that, and I think it just goes into that planning process, and you're trying to get in there. You're losing viewership, you're losing money, you're trying to get things back on track, but that's where when you're trying to do that, priorities get mixed up.
Yeah,
and it's obvious that it's the viewership and the money that is being lost that's driving this, where logically they probably should have just continued just kind of sitting it out. Just take the year off. You'd already lost a good amount of the year. Just
you've already lost $10 billion. What's another 4 at this point?
Exactly, man. So
I mean, let's look at it at how much you would have made by this point in the year. If baseball is a $15 billion a year industry, 15 to 17 billion. At this point, where are we in July? You have already lost $7 billion as an industry. Just lose another 7. I mean, you just lose another 7 because at this point, it's a huge tax write-off. And right now, you're trying to put now money in, and sometimes it just doesn't work that way. It sucks. I get it. $7 billion. I don't want to lose $7 billion. I don't want to lose $7 billion twice, but you're not making much money. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you gotta cut your losses, man, and then you don't even have fans in the stadium. You're over here trying pretty much piping in crowd noise. It looks almost like a joke at this point, unfortunately. Well, Patrick, let's move on to, I guess we're still kind of talking about the coronavirus thing, and we're going to go to the NBA and the NHL because they're going to start their leagues later on this week, or they're going to start back, continuing from when all this stuff started to take shape in March. So both of these franchises, the NBA is going to do their stuff in Orlando. I think the NHL, you can fact check me on this, but I think Toronto and Edmonton are the 2 cities that are doing theirs. Western Conference teams are in Edmonton. Eastern Conference teams are in Toronto. How is this going to look, Patrick? Because I get it. It looks like, unlike Major League Baseball, the NBA and the NHL are kind of trying to keep things as contained as possible to one spot. But does this bubble turn into a cesspool with the virus too? Now, I ask that. It's in particular with the NBA. Dudes are going to get horny. And there's reports out here about lining up groupies and having these women come in and out. That's terrible if you're trying to contain a virus. That's horrible. So, how does this look, Patrick? I don't know, man.
All right.
If that's how it's going to be,
shut it down.
Yeah, it seems like a recipe for disaster. That's for sure.
And it is. Here we go again. I mean, so let's talk about it. And one of the things that confuses me about this whole thing is they tell you, and again, here, baseball is doing it wrong in my eyes, but they tell you don't get in bigger groups than 6. So we're going to put half of our league in Edmonton and the other half in Toronto. What do you expect is going to happen? And then, on top of that, then you got NBA 32 teams, all in Orlando. Oh yeah, because that's just the best idea ever. It's like this, man. Truthfully, if you're gonna do it, I would not put them in a bubble. Just let them travel and play. Just let them travel and play. And if this is the case, look at MLB. Probably should shut it down before it even gets started.
And if you look at Major League Soccer, they had a team, and because they were kind of trying to do the bubble thing in Orlando, they had a team they had to shut down. Actually, it was FC Dallas. Had to shut them down. 10 players got the virus. They shut them down. So
this is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I don't 100% believe Florida is like the epicenter of everything. Because I don't know if you heard, like a couple of weeks ago, everybody was like, "Oh, Florida! Oh my God! Everybody in Florida's got the coronavirus."
Then the same in Texas.
Same in Texas. But see, this in Florida, they found out that there was 300,000 non-documented negative results. So is it really truly the epicenter? That same day, they were like, "Oh, Arizona's going to be the new epicenter." So it's just going to jump from Florida to Arizona. We are dealing with a virus that can literally skip through time.
I don't.
Come on.
I don't. I don't understand what the media is doing. I don't know what's driving these reports. It just looks the media, and as somebody who went to school for this and does a job in the military, it's deplorable. I mean, hey, it's disgusting how these reports are coming out, how things are getting totally blown out of proportion. Like it seems like Texas, and I'm sure you're hearing the same thing in Florida. It seems like Texas is setting a new record every day. They say every day they're setting a record. Every day they're setting a record.
Eventually, everybody has it, and then what record is going to be set? Oh, one person got cured. Oh, 4 people got cured. Oh, 10 people got cured. Come on. I know you're on a thought. Give me 1 second because I got to finish my thought. The reason why I was talking about Florida is if you're going to have an epicenter of Florida, then why run an entire league from Orlando?
Yeah. It just lets you know.
Come on.
It just lets you know.
Thinking.
It just depends on where you're getting your sources and your information from. And then it's like with so much other stuff in this world today, Patrick, it's out of conveniency. If you are Major League Baseball, if you're the National Basketball Association, if you're the National Hockey League, or if you're the National Football League, or any other league, if for that matter, you're probably going to look for anything that steers towards your favor. And so you see these stats that come out and say, oh, well, if we go here to Florida, and I'm not saying this is the metric they use, but let's say they said, well, if we go to Florida, they have the facilities, and the bubble method says that can contain the virus better than if we just let them do like normal. If you see that, and again, this is pretty much money and viewership driven in my estimation, then you're going to steer toward those stats that say this proposal we're throwing out here is safe enough to where we could play games. We won't have fans in the stadium, or we won't anything like that. I mean, but it
doesn't matter. Everybody in Florida has the virus, apparently.
So everything is.
It's more people down here and drive up the numbers.
And look, as a fan of sports, I mean, you're a fan of sports too, obviously. I mean, part of us is good that like we feel like, all right, cool, it's good to see them back. But at the same time, what's the risk? It's just, I don't think it's really worth the risk of getting everybody else or putting everybody else in potential danger here and potential harm to get this virus, minor or major, whatever the case, that doesn't really matter to me. It's just the fact you have this virus. Nobody has an answer for it. Nobody has a cure for this yet. Nobody knows what's going on with it. Nobody still knows how to deal with this. So right now, it's just best just to keep these things shut down. And even if you're going to go to a bubble, you see these players, they're not worried about it. They're still worried about trying to get some. if that's the case. And look, we're dudes, man. You know they're trying to get some. You know they can't hold out. They're gonna try to get some. If they're gonna be in this spot for 2.5 months, you're really trying to tell them, hey, we got to keep things contained. We're not trying to have this. Look, if you're the NBA, I think you have to see this. That this is part of the precautions here. You have to protect the players from themselves. And it's the same in the NHL. You have to protect them players from themselves. And if they're talking about trying to line up groupies, then you have to stop that. If you don't want these players to get infected with this virus, I mean, infected sounds like a bad word, but if you don't want them to crack, yeah. But if you don't want them to catch this virus, then you have to take everything into account. You want them to be adults, but if they're not going to act like adults, then that's when you have to step in as the league. I mean, you down there to play basketball. You know what's out there. You have to do what you can to protect those players. And if they're going to have groupies, that bubble's going to turn into a cesspool. Just saying.
Quick.
Yeah.
Quick. Because, I mean, you think about it. How many courts they got down there? Let's say at best 5. Right?
Yeah, so it's at the Wide World of Sports Arena for the NBA. I don't know the setup.
I think 5.
Yeah, I don't know the setup for the NHL, how many rinks they're going to have in place in Toronto and Edmonton, but I mean, I don't foresee it too much. Huh?
I mean, at best 4. I mean, look, you can only have so many. You can only have so many games going on. You know what I mean? I don't know how they're gonna really do it in Canada, but I do know that there's only 4 or 5. I don't think there's more than 5 basketball courts. I really don't. So out of 32 teams, that's 10 playing at any given time. So you got 22. I'm sorry, my math crazy. You got 22 teams that's sitting idle. At what point do you look and go, yeah, that's probably not a good idea? Because the cesspool, I mean, it's like you said, it's just gonna be so bad. At what point do you just say this can't happen? There ain't no protect. They're grown men. You can't protect. It's not like you can protect them from themselves by too much. They're gonna find a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's a bad idea. I thought baseball was a bad idea, but you know what? They're playing. I mean, it seemed like it was pretty cool at first, but now you're starting to shut down teams. And believe me, Miami's not going to be. Miami was the first, but they're sure as crap not going to be the last. Obviously, because Philadelphia's already shut down. And you think those are going to be the only 2? There's no way.
The reality sets in, man. And I mean, I think, like you said, there's the joy of live sports coming back and having these teams back out there on the field. But this is the reality that is in front of us right now. This virus is out here and nobody knows how to deal with it. You don't have any answers. So
Lysol.
Yeah, so you gotta disinfect, and I don't know what was going on there in Miami, because that's a lot of players, Patrick. It's a lot of players to catch this virus at the same time, or however many things were spread out. I don't know.
They're in a locker room. What do you expect?
Yeah. So Well,
30 people in the locker room when it's normally just 25 people in the locker room. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's 5 less, but I mean, that's a lot more room.
yeah. So, man, let's get to our last topic here with this one, Patrick. So, we talking about college football. Speaking of seasons, college football looks like it is in grave, grave danger of not playing. I know a couple of the major conferences have tried to make the precautions that they were going to do just conference only games or have a conference only schedule. But this is the same thing, Patrick. I just find it hard to believe they're going to have a college football season when they're not letting students come to the schools yet. So, what are we?
Oh, yeah. People in there thinking, man, it's like, dummy. Come on.
And again, this is another thing with money. This viewership and people trying to make this thing happen. The Big 12, or not the Big 12, the Big 10 and the Pac 12 have already said they're going to a conference only schedule, which now what happens with that is one, if you're no, you know what, screw that. We won't start with Notre Dame right now. Not right now. This is what Notre Dame gets, as far as I'm concerned. But if you're these other schools, like say you're some of these mid majors or some of the smaller schools that are out there, you depend on these games against the big conferences to bring money in for your school. To build up facilities, to upgrade things on your campus. That money is gone now. If you add any schedule games with the Big 10 or the Pac 12, those games are out. They're out the door.
Yep.
And so that's at least hundreds of thousands of dollars you were depending on for these upgrades. Yeah. I mean, I guess just depending on the check they get for going to the school. Or just going to the bigger school and playing these games. But I mean, that money is gone. So now you have to find some other source, if there is any other source. But even that source is probably not going to be as big as the one that you were getting when you go play football at these bigger schools. And about Notre Dame, their schedule is royally effed now. Their schedule is
every person they played was out of conference. Well,
but you're an independent, right? So if you're Notre Dame, you're independent, but the way you do your schedule is flawed. Half of your games are with the ACC. In every other sport, you are part of the ACC, except for football. In every other sport. But you're not in football because you got this ridiculous contract with NBC and you don't want to lose that money, because what happens, again, we talked about this, if you did become a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference, that money you are getting from that contract is supposed to be divvied out equally through all the teams in the conference. Notre Dame does not want to lose that money. It's just that simple. If they didn't care about it, then they would have joined the conference already. You're playing half of your games against that conference. And then you're playing another good percentage of those games against which other two conferences? The Big 10 and the Pac 12.
Yep.
Because you have two games with Stanford and USC. They play every year. And then they go into the Big 10. They're at least playing Michigan State or Michigan or somebody. Another game or somebody. Purdue. You're playing at least another one or two games in the Big 10 on top of those games that you're playing against the ACC. So you're depending on two of these conferences that have just said, no, we're just playing conference only games. So Notre Dame, because they're supposed to be the traditional list. Oh, we don't change. We're Notre Dame. We're all holy Notre Dame. No. Yeah. No, Notre Dame, you might need to get with the program, because again, you're going to start losing money. And if you don't have any games to put on NBC, then that money doesn't come. So you're gonna have to make some changes if you're Notre Dame too. But Patrick, big picture, this college football season, this looks like this is in big time danger to at least get delayed. Now, I heard I guess it was a proposal. Maybe it was just something that I had heard on television or the radio, but I had heard they were talking about maybe pushing the start back to around January, maybe even spring ball or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems like this would be a hot ghetto mess because recruiting gets affected. Just a lot of stuff just gets affected. It just turns into a hot mess. So I don't know. Same thing, Patrick. I feel like cancel.
Might as well. I mean, look. So it's like this. If now, don't get me wrong. If college football decides that they want to do this whole play-in conference thing, I think every conference should do it. I mean, now if we're going to have a season, yeah, I totally agree with it. It's just like baseball. I mean, one of the things that I agreed with was putting them in 3 cities. Let them play the baseball games in Arizona, Dallas, and Fort Myers. So I agreed with that. And even today, I still like the bubble idea. I think it could work a lot better than just willy-nilly traveling all over the place and spreading your disease all over everybody else. So I do believe in the bubble. But then you do have those teams like Notre Dame who will not have a game at all. Unless it's against Army and Navy. That's about it. And even then, that's not worth it. I don't even think NBC can even carry those games with Army and Navy. So I don't know what that contract looks like. So Notre Dame is probably SOL at this point. If we do play, I do agree with the bubble. I still will say it's not going to work because I just don't think there's a lot of people. I don't think there's enough people protecting themselves from what the media has said. With that being said, I mean, look, I will tell you, I flat out refuse to wear a mask. I just won't do it. But I do take precautions. I say I won't wear it, but if I do walk into somebody's office or if I walk into somebody's place of business, I ask, do I need to wear a mask? And if they say yes, I'll put one on. If they say no, I'm not putting it on. But if I go to Walmart, I'm not wearing a mask. If I'm going to Publix, I'm not wearing a mask. If I'm just out in the street, I'm not wearing a mask. I just refuse to do that. I do have enough respect for other people to wear it in their area, but I'm not going to wear it. I mean, I'm not asking people to wear a mask in my area. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. I don't have a problem with it. Just don't half-ass it. You know what I mean? Don't put on a mask and wear it below your chin. It defeats the purpose. But I personally, I just think they need to scrap this entire year because nobody's heart's in it. Nobody's heart's in playing baseball. And if you just watch baseball, just watch it. Nobody's heart's in it. I watched your sortie. Reason why I picked some of my teams. Most of the reason why I picked some of them, I'll tell you the reason why I picked Philadelphia. Point blank, it was the only team that I felt would even have heart to play. And they never have heart to play, but they'll have more than anybody else in that division. So I went with what I would feel is the quote unquote hotter hand in most of those leagues. I felt New York would probably do it because they got nothing else better to do.
What do you mean they don't have nothing else better to do? What do you mean?
They're just as bad as Florida. They're just as bad as Florida up in New York. So I felt the Yankees would probably be a better team to win that division based on the fact that Tampa's going to get shut down. Tampa's next. Tampa's next. They're not even going to be playing. So I was going straight out. I wasn't going to pick anybody from Florida. Unfortunately, sorry about this, but I wasn't going to pick Texas either because they're going to be next. I'll pick Arizona, but
I'll be sorry about that. You don't have nothing to apologize for. It's your view.
It's
how
and
you look
that's the
at
way I
it.
see it. I don't see anybody, too many people from the South, really hearts in playing baseball right now, and I doubt they're even going to be having their hearts in playing football. Scrap the season, scrap the year, and let's move on. Start January fresh, 2021 to a new year.
What are you what are you sipping on, by the way? Or are you sipping on anything? What is it?
Just water,
Oh, okay.
just water today.
Nice.
100 ounces, almost got a gallon in today. Apparently, I got to turn over a new leaf and get rid of my fat because, bro, I went to the doctor. I was 210. I'm a fat kid. So, water.
Uh, well, so I mean, and I guess we can wrap it up after this, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think the seasons shouldn't have got started, and I think we've been pretty steadfast when it comes to that. Just like, look, just go ahead, just get cancel season, just scrap it, just figure some stuff out before you decide you wanted to go and rush to start seasons. Like Major League Baseball, when they had that idea of 100 teams, and I know you remember us talking about this, when they had that idea of 100 games.
That'd be a lot of teams.
I it really would.
We have a chance.
All right. 100 games, and you had it broken down to, I think it was 3 divisions, 10 teams each, and you had the bubble idea playing in Florida, Arizona, and Texas. I felt like that was a pretty decent idea. I like that idea than what they're doing now, to be honest. And I feel like Major League Baseball, if we're going to talk about the standpoint of viewership, if we're going to look at it from there, I will always say, Patrick, they threw up on it. I said it on the shorty earlier. They threw up on themselves. They messed up a golden opportunity. If they're worried about viewership, if they're worried about coming through as the sport that could lead this, because I mean, I think right now it's a revolution. Right now, that's what it is, because you're trying to deal with this virus. You have never really had this situation before where you had to have teams come to one spot and basically play in a bubble. So Major League Baseball was in the position of being able to lead and set an example for the rest of the leagues. But they couldn't get over their own way. They couldn't get things situated with how contracts are going to be structured, how much money these players will make.
And that was players' fault right there. I mean, the players were so driven. I mean, even halfway through that, the players were saying, no, if we're going to play 60, even if we're playing 60 games, I want my full contract.
I think they're right for it, though, Patrick, only because the contract was signed. And so to me, that's on the owners. If you're a player and you sign a contract that is fully guaranteed, if you, the owner, sign that contract, then you better have a provision in there. You better say, hey, man, look, you got to turn over this money if coronavirus comes. Now, granted, look, we didn't know coronavirus.
Pandemic or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, granted, but that's why you put those stipulations in the contracts. If you see these new ones. Yes. And so if you have these things that could happen, whatever, I mean, God forbid, any type of catastrophe or anything like that, you have to put those stipulations in. You have to say to yourself, hey, look, man, if this happens, then we can take this chunk of the money out. It's not so much against you, but if we're not playing games, then we shouldn't have to play you when you're not, or pay you when you're not playing games. But when you sign that deal, it's a fully guaranteed deal. It's always been that way, or at least as far as I can remember with Major League Baseball. I don't blame the players for saying they want their money.
The contract says the contract.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I mean, now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be a lot of new contracts coming out. And you watch what happens with these new contracts that states, oh yeah, we'll give you 500 million guaranteed unless there's a pandemic, this, and they're going to cover their entire bases. And yeah, you're going to be 500 million guaranteed, but if this happens, then your contract is then put on hold and you do not get paid until you go back to playing. Oh, I guarantee you, people will be going, pandemic, let's play.
Yeah.
How sick am I?
Money, man.
Let's play. I don't care. I will field a ball with my face if I have to.
Money, man. That's the
Money drives everything.
It does. Well, Patrick, I guess this would be time to wrap this broadcast up. So again, it was great to be back on and talking to all y'all. Make sure, or same rules still apply, even though we haven't done this for a while, but the same is the same. Make sure you check out this show and others on the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button, and also keep the likes coming on the Facebook page, on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. We are back on track to actually do these webcasts each Tuesday, and I think now we both kind of we're getting our mojo back with it. So I think we're ready. We're ready to get things going. And look, we're just like all y'all out there. We don't know how things are going to go, so we are prepared for other topics. As you know, we always tell you, sports is part of life. It's not life itself. So just how we'll continue to monitor everything, just like everybody else. And if these sports do start and stop or whatever happens, we'll still be here to talk about whatever, because we're open to whatever. So
you name the topic, we'll talk about it. You want to talk about religion? We got you. I got things to say. You want to talk about Scientology? I'll tell you how crappy that religion is. You want to talk about politics? Bro, you know I'm ready to talk about politics. I don't care. So you name it, we're ready to talk about it. We'll give you our opinion. But like the rest of the world should follow suit. It's an opinion. And you should respect the opinion because we will respect yours. So no matter what you want to talk about, we're here to talk about it. I don't want you to think like me. I am always open to, what do you call it? I can't think of what I was.
Healthy debate if there's a disagreement.
Healthy debate, yes. Healthy disagreement. I love healthy disagreement. I don't want everybody to think like me, because the world would be boring if it was. But just be open to everybody's point of view. We love point of views and we love perspectives, and we want to hear what people got to say. So put it in there. Leave comments, leave feedback, leave everything you want to put on there. We're going to comment to it. We love it.
So yeah, so all that still is true. Nothing has changed, even though we have been gone for a little bit. Shorties every now and again, but hopefully we can,
when we can get to it.
Yeah, right. So hopefully, like I said, we're doing what we can to be more consistent with this product. And I know it seems like every time we come on and we have a moment of consistency, life is kind of catching us and knocking us down. But we can't let that happen. And so I know for personally, I apologize for that, because I am guilty for that. So I have to be better. And you see, Patrick says that too. So we have to be better, and we will strive for perfection when it comes to this product. We feel like there's some big things coming, but we just have to keep it on going. So having said that, you have a shorty still coming up this week, Patrick?
Yep. I don't know what it's going to be about. I was thinking about doing a reaction video, because, music is still a good part of life. I'll leave it at that. And I'll probably do the reaction video, because I wanted to do it last week, and I did not get the chance. So yes, I do have a shorty.
All right, so look forward to that, y'all, with Patrick Shorty. and we will be monitoring all these situations with sports and everything else that's going on in life. So with that, everybody take care, be safe, take care of each other, and look out for each other. And we will be back later on this week. Until then, y'all take care. And again, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button on the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and keep the likes coming on the Facebook page. We will see you later on this week.